welcome to yet another episode of Dear Man. Um, we're excited to come your way again. It's another Saturday. We thank God for life. So as usual, please go out there, share the feed with family and friends, and then we can get going. So let's give everyone a minute to share the feed, and then it will begin time. Okay. And as always, um, if I mean you good to express your thoughts in the comments, and then we'll bring you um, into the discussion. So just to mention, this is a live feed, like it's not a repeated feed, so you can bring your comments across. It's sometimes when we don't have the time to go ahead with a live feed, that's when we play back. So this one is a live feed, and so let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think, and then yeah, we'll get the conversation going. So today, I think the topic we've been given is the mistakes couples make after the
During and
marriage. Is
the
it
wedding.
during and after
The
the
wedding.
wedding? Okay, yeah. So mistakes that couples make during and after the wedding or marriage ceremony. Um, Quite an interesting one. So let's break it down. Let's first take the mistakes that are made during the marriage ceremony. Um, and then afterwards, we can go to the mistakes that are made after the marriage ceremony. So let me start off. I think that one key mistake I mean, and I might be wrong, but that's my opinion. And so you can also express your opinion in the comments section. One thing I think is a big mistake that is made before, no, during this ceremony, is it during and after, right? During is to actually overrate the marriage ceremony,
The events.
the event. Yeah. I think that one mistake that people usually make is to overrate the event. Now, the event is only a precursor, if you may, to what
The real
is the
thing.
real thing, right? Yeah. So it's more like a curtain raiser, if you may. So if you've watched boxing matches before, or you've watched football matches, sometimes they would have some teams can play um, a curtain raiser before the main event. And because people overly rate the event itself, they push all their attention, all their resources into the event instead of the real thing, right? So that's why you would have a lot of people so concerned about coming up with a huge event, feeding the whole world, like making a huge investment into it. And if you really think about what marriage is, right, and you look at the whole big picture, it feels pretty ridiculous for someone to, as it were, go for debt or go in for a loan just for a marriage ceremony. You get it? Because you have life to live after the event. And so if your resources cannot cater for just the curtain raiser or that precursor, then I wonder how you plan to live the marriage life itself. So that's one big mistake I think people do when it comes to the marriage ceremony and everything. Hey, Samuel Akron, thanks for joining us. So, key thing, the event is only the official announcement of the marriage itself. And so I don't know who taught you finance or whatever for people to really think that it's worth like taking a huge dip in their finances just to have a ceremony. I would defer to Prissy at this point.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. People plan more for the wedding ceremony than for the marriage. And so people also want weddings that will be the talk of town, right? We want to trend on social media and all that. But then we have a lot of trending marriages that do not go far because they did not plan into the marriage itself. It was the wedding they were planning for.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like you should, it's not bad to have a big wedding if you have the means or the resources.
Yeah.
But then if you don't have it, you can just go to the court and sign with your family members around. You can have a small ceremony at home. It's still marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, people usually come. I remember my wedding. There was someone who was at my wedding, came to eat and all that. I met the person the following Sunday at an event. The person didn't even recognize me. You know, the person had been to my wedding and eaten all right. I don't think you even remember what you ate at somebody's wedding. Like, you will not remember.
Oh,
So we put in all
sometimes
that.
if you go in really hard, you can
We put in
remember.
all the efforts to
Yeah.
like please people and all
Yeah.
that, but it's not really that important as planning towards the marriage.
Yeah.
So if you don't have it, don't force yourself.
Yeah.
Do what you can. What's important is you have your rings, you have you can get the prettiest dress because it's a memory you're going to keep forever.
Yeah.
So if if it's expensive, that is because it is for you. So I remember when we're getting married, one was like the most important thing for us is to get the best ring,
Yeah.
the best attire you like. As for the food and everything, the people will come eat and forget.
Yeah.
So you should prioritize. Know what will be long lasting and what is short lived.
Yeah.
For your wedding. Yeah. So
Right. And okay, so Pastor Louis says that God have mercy. We must, I guess, invest into the marriage, not just the wedding, right? And when it comes to this, I would want to throw the ladies under the bus a bit. I think that left to most men, the ceremony would be pretty simple and straightforward. I think it's the ladies who usually want to really, they've grown being in the fairy tale world, thinking about being Cinderella or Snow White. And so there is that quest to actually have a memorable wedding, right? And so, it's a day where it's all about them. So yeah, it will be fun if there will be the talk of town and everything. Sorry, but I have to throw the ladies under the bus.
yeah.
Yes, we know. Yeah, go ahead because yeah, it's fine.
For me personally, you remember when we're about to get married, that was okay with court wedding.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think the reason why we opted to do a church was because you were like very active in church.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like the pressure also comes from church.
Mm.
When you are engaged in church
Yeah.
activities, you feel like
Right.
I've been to somebody's wedding in church and I'm a leader in church. So if I'm not doing that church wedding, it would look weird. And sometimes those ones are also quite costly if you don't have a church that is just willing to support you with like just having this church ceremony and
Yeah.
having a small gathering, then it becomes a big deal. So I think that sometimes it's not just like the ladies wanting the pressure, but it is the church that is pressuring you to have that's
The
so-called
grand
grand
event.
one, because left to a lot of people, they'll just go and sign. And it's like for the church is weird, like, but then marriage is between families and not it's not the church. The church only comes in to bless it, but once you have done that family one, that is recognized as marriage. Yes, so I think that is also one
Okay.
point I want to make.
Okay, so let me come in with this. If there is someone who is part of the the body of Christ, like the person is active or a member of a fellowship or a church, as it were, I think that it's also sometimes tough to understand how people will be in the church and be adding on to the financial burdens of a marriage ceremony. Let me explain. If you have a church auditorium, okay, for someone who is active in church, is one of you,
Mm-hmm.
and the person, for example, I get the fact that maintenance and everything, but think about it. It's the church that comes together to usually build those facilities, right? And someone needs to have an event there. And the person, you know the situation, right? The person is not able to afford. I don't think it's far-fetched to offer the place to the person to have the event, right? If you are a leader in the church and people need to buy you a special package for you to officiate a ceremony, and you know these are people who are trying to start life, I question your Christianity and maybe your calling to be a shepherd of God's sheep, right? So I think that beyond the ladies also wanting to have a fairy tale event, Prissy has made a good point that sometimes it's the pressures that come from without. Now, it's fine if some unreasonable family member somewhere is making some demands, but if it has to be the body of Christ or the church, as it were, putting unnecessary pressure on the people, then we also need to do a very good introspection, right? We need to look deep down and ask whether we're doing the people any good or we are helping to mess people's lives up. Because think about it, there are few things that you will never forget in your life, and I guess that's why a lot of ladies want to have a grand wedding, right? But one of the things you are sure not to forget is someone you expect to be supportive during such a time when like you are stressed, you are pressed and all, and the person is actually an obstacle to you having a smooth event. You will never forget such people.
Yeah, that's true.
You will never forget such people. And so eh, it is worse, or it's bad already if you are not supporting someone. Don't make it worse
Word,
by
yeah.
adding extra
Burden, yeah.
obstacles. Um, During when we were getting married, again, then we were pretty young. We had completed university, so um, maybe 2 years and a
The
few
second year
months,
into,
yeah,
yeah.
after completing university, right? And we so well we were focused on getting this done, right? And then think about it. There are people who will not in any way lift a finger,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden you are told that, oh, that or such people are bringing you extra cost because they tell you they invited people to come, so you will need to pay for transportation for those people, from nowhere. And they, I mean,
I mean, things
it's,
come up.
yeah,
Like during that
yeah.
marriage, like the whole situation. So I've seen that it's one thing about we Ghanaians, like marriage funerals and all that. People feel like that is the time to show their powers, right? And so people who don't really like don't feel relevant, I feel like they are not. They feel they want to be very relevant. They will try to do things to make you feel like they are also like they have that power to do something. I remember someone said I should come and be roaming around with my husband in like after knocking. We should go around to relatives' places, that people that I don't have any personal relationship with. Go round, round, round. I told my parents that no, I'm not going around. That's before the marriage. I'm not taking my fiancé around. We have done the knocking, and if the person wanted to be around, the person would have been present at the knocking. And the person was like, if that's the case, I'm not coming to the wedding. It's like, fair enough, because after all, the person didn't come. I wasn't worried. It doesn't mean that my marriage did not succeed.
Yeah.
It's working. Everything is working. So if you want to listen to things people say, and honestly, that person was not, I won't say the person is not even a good example of a marriage, someone I'll go to for, because even the person's marriage was really bad, doing all sorts of things you don't expect a married person to do. And so sometimes people will advise you, but is you should also um how do you call it, be able to sift out advice from the right people, know that this person is for me or against me. You should be able to discern that this is good advice. You know, if you don't take care, you have some random person in your family or somewhere ruining the whole marriage experience before you even started. Yeah, so you should also be very smart and discern.
Right. Okay, so Pastor Luis is saying that there is this worrisome trend nowadays in most charismatic churches where the pastor or prophet tells his church member, I will not allow you to marry that lady or guy. Forgetting marriage is between two families, not the pastor who is not part of the two families. Yeah, I think that's also a very concerning development, right? So, to put all these together, I think that it is expected that if someone says that I'm going to get married, then you have a certain level of maturity, right? Another thing that is not that people fail to do during marriages or in the build up to marriages is not able to deflect or shield off, as it were, distractions. Think about this. So, especially for young people who really want to build life together, I think that there a lot of things are covered in traditions, right? And traditions are good. They are awesome. It's good to pass on tradition from one generation to the other. But traditions that are not really vetted to see if they still hold value end up being obstacles to people. So if you are from a family, especially the lady, and you see that people are overly trying to bring up a lot of distraction to what is the real thing, you should be able to stand up against it. Now, a funny example comes to mind. I don't know if you know or you've seen this before, but in the past, sewing machines are crucial parts of the list that is given to a man to get ready to marry a lady. sewing machines. There is a brand called Butterfly. There is another brand called Singer. If you've not seen them before, um, you are Gen Z. Anyway, now the reason why I guess something of the sort was on the list, and this is just my assumption, is in those days when women were very handy and were not doing like a secular job, right? They are home and they're supposed to help with the kids' clothing and their spouses' clothing, their own clothing as well. So having a singer or a butterfly sewing machine was very relevant to keeping the home. Today, the dynamics have changed. I don't know how many people even know how to operate a sewing machine.
Mhm.
And so, if there is a list given out with a sewing machine for people who are trying to build life, you should be matured enough to question some of these things. You get it? Because again, it's not like those things necessarily have any bearing on how the marriage would go.
Yeah.
Pastor Louis says that sewing machine was part of most lists, and nowadays laptops are added for brother-in-laws. Whoa! I never knew this.
Interesting.
This
Anyway, yeah, the world is changing, so it makes sense.
what?
Yeah, since the sewing machine is now outdated, like adding a laptop.
So and
You have to earn a certain amount to marry in this day and age. Like that is why I think that is one of the reasons why people are like taking longer in marrying, because
so
you have to buy a laptop for.
Mama says really, hey, yeah, Mama, get prepared.
And for we the women, when the list comes, you know that you know the finances of the one you are going to marry.
Yeah.
You spend all the money on the ceremony. In the end,
You get hungry.
you would be the one trying to manage.
Exactly.
So if you have to go to see your parents or whoever gave the list to reduce some of the things, it's necessary, because at the end of the day, it's going to directly affect you.
Laptop for
Yeah,
brother-in-law.
that there are some things on the list that you feel that, oh, you can see your parents to cut some of the things down. Because most of the things are coming to you
Okay.
anyway, so
So
you can go negotiate.
at this point, let me apologize to my brother-in-laws for not getting them laptop. Anyway, but sometimes we follow the letter of these traditions and forget what the spirit of the tradition is actually. Mr. Jetomobi, thanks for joining us. We follow just the letter of the traditions and forget what the spirit of the tradition is. So, um, something called Dakuta Sikan, right? This is what is supposed to be. This is the spirit of the tradition. A lady has been with the brother for all this while, right? I mean, they've lived life, they've been together, blah blah blah. And Clement, thanks for joining us. And you are coming to take away that lady. It is more like a token you are giving the person to say, "Oh, thank you for taking care of your sister," or "Thank you for being the gatekeeper all this while." if if that would be a burden to the marriage happening, then you don't really understand what the spirit of the tradition is. It's just like the things that you give to the in-laws, and that's why it's a good tradition, right? Think about it. Someone has and
You are
to
not
put it
buying the
into
bride.
context,
Yeah.
exactly, to put it into context, you can't even pay for what they've done taking care of the lady, right? And so it's just a token to say thank you, right? If now that token is what would now become an obstacle, you see some of the list, and I know sometimes on social media people are joking, right? But there is some truth to them. You see some of the lists, and immediately as a man who is not well thinking, you can easily say that, oh, I bought you.
Yeah.
With those kind of things that I had to,
Yeah.
oh, I, you know,
Yeah, they feel like they bought the.
correct.
And sometimes it ends up affecting the relationship in the marriage.
Absolutely.
Because they end up treating the women like their property.
Yeah. I mean, why would okay. So Clementine for joining. Pastor Louis says that I'm a witness to a son of mine's list at Boy Town. The guy could not marry the lady, unnecessary demands. Yeah, and this is real. Think about it. It- I would rather, personally, if I think my daughter is dating a responsible young man or sensible young man, I would rather do everything possible for them to settle down than to be there and hear that maybe they are out there sleeping together or get pregnant or any of those. I I think that sometimes, Jesus said, "Ye by your traditions have made the word of God to none effect." Sometimes we let the traditions lose their significance and the reason for which they were there. Sami says that we're from this laptop to how can we marry then? Akuntasika is just 100 Ghana. That's what I took from my sisters. Laptop, yes, exactly. So it's just a token to say thank you. It's not like
Now people pay according to the level of education, right? So
it's
if I've educated my child to like the PhD level, then the laptop comes in.
so
That is
yeah.
what they are trying to.
But
That is the value they place a value on there.
exactly. This is rather my problem. As a father, okay, with all the things that I do for my children, I don't want a man to even come close to thinking that he's paying for any of those things. That's absolute trash. How can you pay for? No one can pay for that.
Yeah.
And so it is. I think the more you make it like the more it feels like you are trying to get a payback for what you've done, and that rather cheapens you and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are trying to get married, ladies especially, make sure that your family, and if you are not matured enough to call out such things, I don't think you are ready for marriage, because it means that during the marriage people can come in and do anything, say anything, and you can't stand up to them. That is actually the first litmus test to see if you really matured for the marriage.
I want to
Yeah,
make
go ahead.
another thing.
Yeah.
What about this trend where, like the how do you call it? How do you call this? Those things that you give out,
Was it
the
bride price or
no, aside the bride price, all those customary stuff
yes?
you give out.
Yeah.
What about when there are certain relationships where the lady is doing well, and the lady rather gets those things with their money, with the man not contributing anything.
Okay.
Do you think it's also good?
This is what I think. I think that it's customary and it's traditional, right, for the man to be the ones providing those things. If a lady is well to do, I would think that if you have any form of support, use it to support after the marriage. This is what I think. So don't also be in a situation where you make the man feel that, like, let the man be involved. Do you get it? Don't like you go in and buy things yourself, package. I know sometimes it's in the right spirit. You're trying to do the right thing, right? Like you're trying to shield your man, right? But to an extent, I think that you should also let the man go through that rite of passage. Do you get it? So whatever it is that should be bought, if you have anything to say, rather help to beat it down to a reasonable proportion for your man to be able to do. I know some of these things get pretty unreasonable, and if you think, okay, the man cannot afford all of them, and maybe, for example, some of the what intimates for the lady, you decide that, okay, these are the ones I like, you buy it or something. Maybe those ones could be brushed off, but don't let the man also go without going through this rite of passage. So Pastor Louis says very true, and Sami says yes, Madam. My sisters did those gifts to help their husbands. Yeah. So again, sometimes let's just understand what the spirit of the whole thing is. Okay. Don't be in a, and it's good if you have a lady who wants to even help do such things, but don't. It shouldn't be a case of, okay, the lady is marrying herself, or the lady is trying to get married at all costs. That's what
I
I'm saying.
also
Yeah.
feel that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
men who don't contribute anything towards the marriage,
Mm,
it might not be like in the case of everyone,
yeah.
but they don't end up being responsible even in the marriage. Like when everything is done for them, they don't contribute anything. The ladies does everything, or maybe the lady's family is rich, so they do everything for the man. I feel like such men are opportunists, sort of, because as a man, you don't want to feel like you want to be in charge, right?
Right.
And so for a man who will sit back for the woman or the woman's family to do everything, might end up marrying you, and you, the woman, will have to now take care of yourself and even take care of the marriage.
It is a yes or a no, like you said. It's not general across the board, right? So if things happen, so you could have, for example, a man who is very hardworking and everything, but just around the time they want to get married, something happens. He loses his job or something, right? So at that point, the woman has the conviction that this is a responsible person, and it's only the current situation that is making it that way. In that case, if you are supporting, that's fine. But if you have a habitually irresponsible person, and you are trying to push for things to be done, you already know the nature of the man. And so going into the marriage, you know what to expect. You know you are going to marry a woman, like you'll be two women in the home, right? So sometimes and if there is a situation around that is not allowing the man to be able to do whatever he needs to do, you also know that this is just a transient thing. So Oswald Clement says that the marriage, I guess, is list usually scares the young men these days. Of most parents can be reasonable, we wouldn't be. Oh, if most parents can be reasonable, we wouldn't be discussing this. The issue is in twofold: the ladies' parents, number one, and then number two, ladies who can't talk on behalf of her beloveds to her parents. Absolutely, absolutely. So so sometimes I think this stems from a particular mindset we have. I am a father, right? And I know the silent pains that men go through to take care of their kids. Prissy is a mother and knows the silent pains that women go through to take care of their kids. Now, that is no reason for us to think that our kids are our investment, part of our investment portfolio, and we look forward to reaping or harvesting when it's time for them
Yeah,
to
because I've heard of people who have had,
yeah, right.
or maybe in-laws built for them before, like as part of the bride price.
Yeah,
So before you have my daughter in hand in
yeah,
marriage, you have to maybe build a two-bedroom house.
yeah.
because I expect that my child would, my daughter
Yeah.
would work and do that for me. But as he's going to start another family,
Yeah. Then
I
you
might
have
not
to.
say, so let me take my share now,
So that, yeah.
so that if he doesn't get the time to, or the opportunity to do it for me, I've had my share.
Yeah. And if the person even has the means to do it, that's fine. But if the person has to overextend, go for a loan to do that, as a parent, I don't know what kind of path you trying to chart for your kids' future. So I know sometimes we all have it in mind that, hey, this is my investment, this is my. It's also a mindset thing. It is not your. As I am taking care of my kids, I am not doing it for them to come
And pay back.
and pay back. In fact, scripture says that a good father leaves an inheritance for his children and children's children, right?
Mhm.
So it means you are not being a good father. You're looking for your children to leave an inheritance for you, right? So it's a mindset thing. And I think that it will be good, and that's why it's good we are discussing this. It will be good if, as the new generation, we are able to change that
Some of
mindset.
the things, yeah.
Yeah, Pastor Louis says that I had a daughter who was buying almost everything for their engagement, including clothes, and I advised her that the pastor must get involved, and she got me wrong and informed my son about it. And suddenly he was at loggerheads with me, all because the lady's mom is in Italy. As I'm talking to you, they are no more, and the pastor has a kid with another woman outside his marriage. Yeah, I mean, if you would, the truth is that if you will see a responsible man,
Understand?
oh, you will know.
From the start.
Oh, you will know. You will know. You don't need to have any spiritual powers to even know that this person
It's going to be
it will
responsible.
be
Yeah.
responsible or not, right? So, yeah. So sometimes if you have like a man and it looks like the lady is the one trying to make everything work, like
Always in charge of
mm,
finances and
pushing the man to do things or something, you will know that all these sort of
things will come
repercussions
up
will come
later.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we've discussed two main things today. Would we are out of time, and so we'll get to continue this discussion. The first one is that people, and first mistake people make during the marriage ceremony or in the lead up to the ceremony is that people overestimate what the marriage ceremony is. And then number two, people don't get to that point where they are able to stand up to all the excesses and distractions that come up from family in the lead up to the marriage. By the time you guys are married, you realize that you're already worn out and you've started series of arguments
Yes.
already.
Because I realize most of the arguments,
Yeah.
things that bring about conflict around that time doesn't even come from within.
No,
It's
it's
from
always, yeah,
outside.
outside. Yeah.
And the people outside might, sometimes you feel like, oh, let me try to be obedient and all that, right?
Yeah.
The people outside might not, they might not be impacted by
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
they see. But I think that's for the two of you, you should put your foot down.
Exactly.
Even if it means that you lose face with the outside people. Yeah, if your
Yeah.
marriage
Who cares?
work,
Exactly.
that is
Yeah.
what is important.
Right.
Because we have that tradition of obedience. Oh, you have to respect
Yeah.
whether the person is saying something that doesn't make sense. Oh, don't worry, just do it for the person to feel okay.
Yeah.
No, do what will make the marriage work. I
And
feel like that is more important than pleasing everybody outside.
correct. And as I keep saying, I have this saying. I've been used to this saying since I was very young. Um, sensible people grow, but fools grow too. So you can have an adult telling you something, and that might be a grown fool. So be very cautious. So Mr. Clement says that my wife spoke on my behalf when we were ready to marry. Items of the on the list were drastically reduced. You are blessed with a good wife. We thank God for that. Yeah, if people can really, because sometimes it's unreasonable. Like you're trying to build a life together. Why do you go through so much pain just because you want to do the right thing? And that's what is keeping people from actually getting married,
Yeah.
right?
Because if as a young man I want to marry and I have all these pressures and all that, like from the person's
Yeah,
family,
yeah,
I might look elsewhere,
yeah,
look for someone else who would like
yeah.
easily agree with me and because I would not want to have headaches.
Oh, sorry to
Yeah,
say, people would rather go in and try and impregnate people. Then
yeah.
at that point, whether you like it or not, the person is pregnant already,
Mhm.
right? So help the young generation do the right thing. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Dear Fan. We appreciate all your inputs, your feedback, and I believe that we've all learned a thing or two. We'll come your way again next week with yet another episode. Always remember that no two relationships are the same. Thank you, cheers, and bye for now.